We are watching a new tropical wave out here in the Atlantic, and it has a high chance to become our next named storm, which is Gabrielle. Here to speak on the latest information that we have. We'll go over current conditions with this wave first, the latest from the National Hurricane Center, and then we'll compare all model guidance. Then we'll speak on an area a little bit closer to home here in the Caribbean, the Gulf, off the coast of the Southeast. As we get to the middle portion of the month, I do want to watch for just some tropical activity. We'll spend a little time on that. And then we'll give you the latest information on a cool down, another cool down, dropping down to a lower 48 already this morning behind another cold front. And then we'll round the video off with today's forecast and a Bible devotion if you want to join us for that. If you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. So let's start it off by speaking on what's going on with this tropical wave first. Let's see if this is going to work, and it is. So our actual wave, based off what the National Hurricane Center is saying, is right around right here. This is kind of the area of energy we are watching. Now, this circled area doesn't look much different than this or this. But, the colors you see on your screen, and this is what we call the tropical Atlantic, portion of the Atlantic Ocean, is convection, shower and storm activity. And, the highlighted colors here you see in the greens, the yellows, the orange, the reds, and the blacks in between that. This indicates colder cloud tops, which means we have stronger convection, taller updrafts, and the taller up you get into the upper levels of the atmosphere, the colder it is, and that is reflected by the colors you see on your screen. But really, this is kind of the area we are watching. This is the area that the National Hurricane Center thinks that has the best shot to consolidate. So we'll speak on what that means as we get deeper into this video. So just wanted to show you the bigger picture first. Let's go on and move past this. The latest from the National Hurricane Center. They have not really increased the chances for development since, I would say, about midday yesterday. Right now, we have a 70% chance between now and the next 7 days for this tropical wave to develop into a depression or our next named storm. So once this goes red, we pretty much say this has a high chance of development. But development means like a defined low-level circulation, which would make it that tropical depression or a named storm, which would be Tropical Storm Gabrielle in this case. But it has a chance to develop in this red area per the National Hurricane Center. Now, I could see this bumping up from a 70 to an 80% chance at the 8 a.m. update or the 2 p.m. update, but I wouldn't be surprised if they kept it at 70% chance right now, especially based off some of the morning model runs that we are seeing, which we are about to go over. So that's the latest from the experts at the National Hurricane Center. What about model guidance? Let's go over the Euro first. So we're going to initialize all model guidance 48 hours out from right now. So this is for Friday morning. If I forget to mention any days of the week, timestamps or anything like that, look up here. FRI stands for Friday, September the 5th. Don't worry about Zulu time right now. The Euro says we're dealing with a weak low pressure, 10-11 millibar low. That is where our tropical wave should be about. It might be a little bit further west or east, but we continue to move forward into Saturday morning, still weak low pressure. And then we get into Sunday morning, September the 7th, and a little bit stronger. Remember, the more this number drops, this millibar, the stronger the low pressure, the stronger the tropical system. So at this point, the Euro is saying this could be a 1,004 millibar low, which would make it pretty close to a tropical storm. Now we continue to move forward, and it actually gets to a sub 1,000 millibar low into the 990s. So that would definitely tell us that, hey, and I always say this when I'm going over the tropics, once you see that number drop below 1,000, we can pretty confidently say what this model is showing us is probably a tropical storm, but that doesn't mean that's exactly what's going to happen. Remember, we cannot look at model guidance like an actual forecast. This is just guidance. We're comparing everything to see if, there's some sort of coming together, if you will. So this is getting all the way into next Monday morning, September the 8th. We have a tropical storm. A very small one, kind of compact one, I would say, too. But it's cruising pretty low in latitude. We don't like that it's that far south. And we start to get into Tuesday. And the Euro says this is a hurricane, 984. So it's like, okay, well, this is a hurricane at this point. It's pretty low in latitude, pretty far south. What's this thing going to do? And then it gets as strong as a 977 millibar low about midway next week based off this run. Category 2 hurricane. And then it starts to get closer to the Leeward Islands, but it begins to weaken pretty dramatically. We're going to flip it to this. Here it comes, tropical storm weakening. We get all the way into September the 11th, next Thursday, and this is a weak tropical storm moving into the Leeward Islands, and it continues to weaken. I'm going to talk about why it shows it weakening, and eventually it just tears this tropical system apart. It never recovers. So it's an interesting run from the Euro. From the Euro. So the GFS, what is it showing? Is it going to continue to show that stronger scenario that it's been showing for the last few days? No, it's not. Watch this. So we start off Friday morning. The GFS does try to get this together pretty quick in the shorter term. So we get into Saturday, and this is close to a weak tropical storm. This would take a name, Gabrielle. And then it kind of does what the Euro does, but a little bit faster. The Euro at this point has a strong tropical storm, a hurricane. But we get into next Monday, and this is weakened back down into just a wave or a depression. And then we start to get to about a week from today. And this is September the 10th, a week from right now. And here it comes creeping up on your screen. And we get into next Thursday. Does this recover? Regardless, it's gaining latitude. It does begin to try to re-intensify past the day 7 mark. And it actually starts to get close to hurricane status again. Then we get to day 10, which is pretty far out. I know, y'all have to tell me in the comments. I know this is far out, but we like to compare all model guides and show everything here. Past the day 10 mark, so next weekend, not this weekend, next weekend, 13th, 14th, 15th, all of a sudden we have this re-intensifying. It looks like ridging might build on top of this, and this just kind of stalls out just south of Bermuda, which is this speck right here, and just it's a weird run, and we don't have the entirety of the run. We only have 288 hours out, but honestly that's as far out as we need to go. But it is a weird run. It kind of looks like we're all just kind of good, and this thing's just heading out, and then it just kind of gets bogged down. And the only reason I can think of it does that is because you have a ridge that builds on top of it. So it's an interesting run from the GFS, but in the short to really, you could say medium to even kind of short range, longer term, if that makes sense, which I always consider kind of that day 7, day 8 range. It really doesn't get this going. But anyways, moving forward, the Euro AI model, and I continue to show this because the Euro AI model is really sticking to its guns with this just being a weaker system. So if it ends up being right, we tip our cap to this model and we show it a little bit more respect points going forward, right? That's the way I do things on my channel. Now, you look at the Euro AI model we get into this weekend, and that's your wave. I mean, it is weak. It's not even popping up an L down here. And it takes this open wave and just moves it into the Lesser Antilles, and it's just a weak system. And that's a possibility, absolutely. And then it has a bigger wave behind it. And of course, we need to watch stuff like this. And I do think something like what this is showing, like way out here, guys. I mean, like the mid-month time frame. I think the environment will continue to support more waves after this one that we're discussing right now. And the National Hurricane Center does too. And I'll show you a graphic that they issued here in a second. But what about the latest Icon? Icon likes this strengthening in the medium, short to medium term. So it has this already close to a hurricane, if not a hurricane, by the end of this coming weekend, right in the middle of the central Atlantic. 987, that's probably a Category 1 hurricane. So what about ensemble guidance? Well, the Euro ensemble followed its operational run with basically not showing near as many L's anymore, near as many members. So remember, this makes up 51 members. It throws every member that forms on an output for us. Don't think that there's 25 low pressures out here attacking the L's, right? So there's just not near as many members showing up. But the ones that are down here, almost every single one of them are sub 1,000 millibar low pressures. So, but it really gets into this area right here, and it looks like something really negatively affects this system. But there's a couple stronger members, and eventually these do gain some latitude. We take it 240 hours out. And the ones that do survive, a lot of them are hurricanes. But they look like they are turning. But some of these members are getting closer to Leeward Islands. Now, what we were looking at yesterday is a lot more concerning of a look. We had many members slipping down into just the Caribbean. And many members not turning fast enough. So, of course, like you would assume, and it would be right to assume this, we're getting the windshield wiper effect. Just like we did when we were covering Aaron. What about the GFS ensemble from overnight? Most of the members develop something. Remember, this only makes up 21 members, but almost every single one of those members keep this north, and would definitely threaten Bermuda on down the road if this was the case. And of course, we would need to watch. We need to watch anybody. I don't want to say we don't need to watch any specific area. It's try not to get sidetracked here because the comments have just been repetitive. They've been nonstop. But it's everybody just assumes that this is a fish storm. If it hits land, if it hits somebody, it's not a fish storm for them. Everyone just comment the one-liners. It's out to sea. What's the point of talking about? There's always a point to talk about. We're a channel that talks about the weather. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to track this until it's done, right? So, there's always a point to talk about this stuff. And you never know when this is just going to, pull a wild card on us. This is a system that hasn't even developed yet, guys, and it might not. So why does the euro weaken this system so much all of a sudden? So it's a 985 millibar low, right? Coming up on us closer to the Lesser Antilles next Tuesday morning. Okay, 985 Cat 1 hurricane. Well, it looks like it just plows into a ton of dry air, which is indicated by the brown on your screen. And this dry air really just gets wrapped up into the cyclonic flow of the system. Therefore, this system just dramatically weakens and then eventually just fades into oblivion. So now, whether this is some sort of upper level feature, like a tut, that kind of brings some shear into the system and then rips it apart, and then the dry air is introduced, we got to figure that one out. I think there is some sort of upper feature in place right here. And Model Guidance was really gung-ho about a tut being in place at this time frame. Is it reintroducing that? We just got to watch. Now, what about steering currents? I'm not going to get as detailed on this that we potentially will here in the next several days. But in the shorter term, this is getting steered east to west because of flow around high pressure. The warmer colors on your screen, that's high pressure. Like this is high pressure, this is low pressure. Our tropical system itself is a low pressure, which is right here. Weak system. This is initializing for, Sunday. So this is following kind of the flow around high pressure. And then it kind of goes, it flows like this up here and then kind of down here. So it's just working this way because of the flow at the bottom edge of this high pressure. Now, this isn't very strong high pressure right in here, but it's still high pressure. So it's still going to feel the flow around it. Now, I will tell you, there's different types of tugs in different areas of the atmosphere that these weaker, strong systems will feel. A stronger system will feel more of a tug from the upper flow around the ridge. A weaker system is going to feel more of the flow like in the trade winds, just the lower levels of the atmosphere. But this is an interesting little feature right here that continues to show up right here. I don't know if this is some sort of upper level feature, but it's knocking kind of a dent in this ridge. Okay? And I think inevitably this system feels a little bit of that weakness and kind of comes north. But in general, if it remains a weaker system, it's not going to just go super far north, right? But there's something right here, and this could be introducing wind shear, for example, in the latest Euro with the system. But eventually, one thing we're watching is a huge trough that shows up here on the GFS. Now, on the Euro. Now, what the GFS is something totally different, right? It gains latitude fast, much weaker ridge. This trough digs down, kind of breaks open this ridge right here. Looks like there's a wide open weakness, right? For this system to just kind of head on out or whatever it's going to do. Okay, but watch what happens on the GFS. The ridge kind of builds back on top of it. It slows it down and it misses the weakness in the escape route. And a strong eastern Canadian ridge builds on top of this. And that's why the GFS shows a funky run. So if the ridge of high pressure builds on this, the flow around this high pressure is like this. So it's going to try to push this, what would be a very strong hurricane, back towards the East Coast. That's just one funky run. It's nothing to get overly concerned about, right? So we'll continue to watch this. Looks like I had the same panel up. But a little bit closer to home, I do want to watch, maybe some homegrown activity. I think there's going to be a lot of frontal boundaries around, around the eastern U.S. So, about between day 7 and day 10, it does show like a quick low pressure developing off the eastern seaboard. We'll watch that. That could do something funky. Past the day 10 mark, has a tropical storm or some sort of hybrid storm off the mid-Atlantic coastline. But not concerned about that until it gets closer to us, until we get some model consistency. But outside of that, the Euro doesn't show anything crazy in the Gulf or the Caribbean. What about the GFS? You're going to see what we've already talked about, which is maybe future Gabrielle. Does it show anything else like in the Caribbean or the Gulf? It does not. But I do think, and the Client Prediction Center thinks this too, this is the new global hazards outlook. It runs from the 10th to the 16th on this graphic and the 17th through the 23rd on this graphic. They do like the idea of tropical development, at least a 20% chance in this kind of striped area, red and white area of tropical development. It also likes another tropical wave coming as we get to day 10 and onward, basically the middle portion of September. And then we go from September the 17th to the 23rd, continues to kind of like some of the same areas in the Gulf and the Caribbean and maybe, in the Southwest Atlantic, but it really likes this wave, some sort of wave, and this isn't the wave we're talking about right now. This is some other wave because this is between the 17th and 23rd. It likes something getting going in the MDR, main development region. Once we get to the second half of September, this area of the ocean begins to kind of slowly wind down. And then by the time we get in October 1st, it really cuts off out here, and we got to focus back in on the Gulf. And it's been pretty quiet in the Gulf so far, guys. Very quiet. Nothing has happened yet. So in this kind of red, solid colored area, this is where we have a 40% chance of tropical development between the 17th and the 23rd. So I do want to show some love to the Eastern Pacific. We have hurricane. Wow, I practiced this before and I forgot. I think it's Lorena. I think that's how they pronounce it. Lorena, not Lorena. Lorena. And it could strengthen into a Category 2 hurricane sometime over the next 48 hours. And the reason I want to talk about this is because the path does take it into Baja California and areas of Mexico, but this could bring some moisture up to Tucson and Phoenix. And so we'll watch this as we get deeper into the weekend. I don't want to totally ignore this. And then we got a bigger hurricane out here. I think it's Keiko or Kiko. I'm not going to pretend like I've been paying attention to the punctuation of this or anything like this. Punctuation. I struggle with that word. But we do need to watch Hawaii on down the road. And I'm not going to ignore you guys. I know I don't speak on Hawaii much, but you would think this is heading right towards you folks. But I think people forget that the waters out here are a lot cooler than what people realize. For example, I want to mention this really quick because I think a lot of people don't realize this. The waters on kind of the southern areas of the Hawaii of the islands out here, Hawaii Islands, Hawaiian Islands, the waters are much warmer on this side. Once you get on this side of the islands, they are significantly cooler. So you rarely ever get a strong hurricane going like this way. They really can maintain their strength if they go this way. And then the islands themselves are kind of a middle ground as far as sea surface temperatures. But, a lot of people think the waters in Hawaii are just boiling and just very, very warm. They are warm, but, you go on some of the northern shorelines and the far northern islands, it's not as warm as you think they are. But anyways, as far as the cool down, folks, this is a 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. We're still hanging on to below average chances at below average temperatures in the blue area. So honestly, I really think that we're just having a hard time shaking this pattern. I think even if this cold front that's digging down that we're about to talk about misses some people, I honestly think that there's going to be another cold front at some point down the road. But this is the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. Still liking the idea of below average temperatures in these blue areas between the 8th and the 12th of September. And the reason being is, we got this cold front that's going to dig down because in response to this trough, it's digging down to the middle of the country, right? And then this, trough, which is this area in the blue, is going to, kind of retract to the north and move on out the way. And then you think, okay, it's going to warm up, and it might. But then watch how another trough shows up along the eastern U.S. And we got to watch for some sort of low pressure in this time frame to develop too. So you see the blue that shows up once again. This could keep chillier temperatures across the eastern U.S. and help us to escape from any kind of brutal heat. So it's interesting that that's showing up. But, in the shorter to medium term, here comes this cold front. This is tomorrow morning temperatures off the Euro. Look at these chilly temperatures in the Midwest, upper Midwest. And then we start to get into Friday morning. This first cold front sweeps in and out, doesn't dig very far. And then the next cold front moves in. And this is Saturday morning. Low temperatures will be pretty pleasant across the northern terrain of the country. Kind of warm, more summer-like low temperatures across the eastern and deep south of the U.S. And it gets very warm Saturday. I think it's going to be a blazing hot day across the deep south, southeast. Cold front will be moving in for certain areas. This is Sunday morning, waking up to a brisk morning across the Ohio Valley, 40s, 50s. And then we start to get into next week. And, I've seen a lot of comments, what happened to our cold front? Well, we've been getting a nice cold front. We've been getting a nice air mass. I think when people I say cold front, they think that it's supposed to be 70 degrees with a low of like 45 in like North Carolina or something. No, it's early September. We're not going to get anything like that. A cold front this time of the year is a nice 80-degree day with no humidity with a low of about 55 or something. I mean, that's nice this time of the year. So these are potential high temperatures next Monday. Still nice. And this is next Tuesday. Look at this chilly air, chilly lows. And then we just got to watch onward. We get into about a week from today. Looks like some of this cooler air. Look at these low temperatures getting back down to the 50s and 60s across the southeast. Still a modification of the of air mass kind of up the middle of the country. But I do want to watch just for cooler air to kind of hang for the eastern U.S. I mean, look at this. Just still some chilly lows and just a fall-like air mass, September-like air mass. That's kind of hanging with us. So, but we'll get more detailed if we're going to see any more potent, cool downs in the future or anything like that. But this is the cold front moving in right now. You can actually see it based off rain coverage. Cold front moving in. You got rain ahead of the cold front. This is bringing some showers across areas of the Midwest, the upper Midwest, the UP of Michigan. You're waking up to some rain, a little bit of much needed rain in eastern Tennessee, starting to move into western North Carolina. We could use the rain across areas of the southeast. It's gotten pretty dry, pretty fast across certain areas. But a little bit of moisture, hanging out with us in the western states too. So that's current conditions. Watches, warnings, and advisories. We do have many heat alerts across the Pacific Northwest. We got some flood watches and heat advisories across areas of California. Elsewhere, it's quiet. Now, the risk of severe weather, we have our first slight risk in a couple weeks across areas of Kansas and to Missouri. So we have a level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather, Topeka, Kansas City, down to Wichita. Marginal risk around this. Tornado threat. We got a 2% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in a given location in Manhattan down to Wichita. Wind threat, 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour in this yellow area. And then the hail threat. It's kind of weird. Looks like they kind of forgot to put the hatch marks here. But in the yellow areas, that is a 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. Then in this area, kind of with the black outline region right here, it's a 10% risk of significant size hail, which does include Kansas City. Topeka, Lawrence, all the way down here just about to Wichita. So be aware of that. Risk of excessive rainfall. Southern Arizona, just watch out. 15% risk of flash flooding down there. The southeast, really the only area to watch out for is a little bit of rain crossing over the southern Appalachian Mountains this morning. We're going to get numerous showers and storms for the southern tip of Florida. Some showers and storms possible and likely across Mississippi, across Middle Tennessee. Then they might weaken as they get into Alabama. Then we get into the overnight hours, and then we'll try to get some more rain across western North Carolina, eastern Tennessee, northern Georgia. We could use that. West Virginia, Kentucky, a little bit of storm action. The Northeast, it's pretty quiet today. A little bit of shower activity. I do want to watch a cold front moving in. This could heighten the chances of showers. I think I saw a comment yesterday that said it's getting pretty dry, and I think they said either Vermont or New Hampshire, maybe Maine. So this could bring you a little bit of rain. I don't think this is going to be a soaker by any means, but the south central U.S., we got to watch those storms in Kansas and Missouri today. I know that was a really fast kind of view of that, but the HER model really isn't showing a whole lot. A little bit of flow with these storms right here. So we'll take a closer look at this. Here it is, Kansas. See those storms developing around Manhattan, Topeka, You see how you have those little squiggly marks off of them? This indicates the potential for some stronger updrafts. Hutchinson, Wichita, just watch out for these storms in these areas for sure. And a little bit of storm action in Missouri too. Now up here in the north central U.S., some storms could swing through the upper sections of lower Michigan. And then we could get some storms in southern areas of lower Michigan later this afternoon. You can see all that rain down there kind of moving in. Most of Michigan will see some sort of rain. I would not be surprised one bit we get some snowflakes mixing in with some of this action tonight across northeast Minnesota. I think National Weather Service out of Duluth actually had a discussion on that. But we'll continue just to get a cool kind of damp flow across the UP of Michigan. You can tell the winter, the fall season, deep into the fall season is not very far away. But the western U.S., just numerous showers, maybe some thunderstorms. Watch out southern Arizona specifically, kind of a moist pool of flow from some moisture in the eastern Pacific. But moving forward here, temperatures, eastern U.S. getting pretty warm. Big warming ahead of this cold front. But once you get on the other side of this cold front, it is cool. Look at these chilly temperatures. Temperatures will struggle to get over 40 degrees for a high in northeast Minnesota. So no doubt we could get some flakes mixing in. A chilly day up here. You know that fall is getting very, very close, folks. And this is temperatures for the western U.S. You can see the front boundary here. So, oh, that's all I got. I feel like that was a struggle to get through. I don't know why. But I ain't shaking the whole computer here. This morning, we're in Colossians chapter 3, verse 12, and we are just going to speak through this entire thing. So I think we go through verse 17. So it says, therefore, as God's chosen ones, holy and dearly loved, put on compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience, bearing with one another and forgiving one another if anyone has a grievance against another, just as the Lord has forgiven you. So you are also to forgive. Above all, put on love, which is the perfect bond of unity. And let the peace of Christ, to which you were also called in one body, rule your hearts. And be thankful. Let the word of Christ dwell richly among you in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another through psalms, hymns, spiritual songs, singing to God with gratitude in your hearts. And whatever you do, in word or in deed, do everything in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him. I know that was a lot, but just wanted to go all the way through here. So I read a couple things as usual and said, fully buy into these Christ-like qualities and characteristics and apply them in your life. Forgive one another just as the Lord has forgiven you. Love is the bond that holds it all together. Allow the peace of Christ to rule your heart. This will make it easier to handle negative situations in life the way God would want you to handle them. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and say this is easy in today's world. You know, it's a social media driven world. Also that, you know, that plays into a lot of what I do. But you know, there's just a lot of, I don't want to use the word messed up people, but there is just a lot of people that need help out there. And that's not a knock on anyone. The older I get, the more that, I don't know how to word this without coming off in a way, but the older I get, the more I just realized how wild people can be. And I've kind of put my guard up on my channel with people. You know, I've learned to just kind of do what Jesus said to do, turn the other cheek. You know, with some of the comments that I read on my YouTube or social media platforms, you know, you just got to be careful out there. That's one thing. Another thing is, you know, just if someone has something bad to say about you, just or something bad happens, you got to handle it the way that it says in Scripture to handle it, and handle it with love. If one thing that I've been bad about, and I'm trying to get better at with, is sugarcoating stuff with sarcasm, and that's not the way to be. It really isn't. You think about it, because it's kind of like, I've said this many times. I've used this example many times before. When you kind of are arguing with somebody on social media, whether it's about religion or politics or whatever it may be, the weather, and you say, hey man, I'll pray for you. But really you're just kind of saying it just out of irritation. You're probably not going to pray for that person. But, just, do stuff, be genuine with your actions, and just be loving. Just love one another, handle things, be patient. Be patient with people. You never know what somebody's going through. That person that might be just attacking you nonstop, whether it's right to your face, whether it's online, whether they're talking behind your back, you really don't know what they're going through. You kill them with kindness, or either just don't say anything at all. But, there's going to be situations where you have to deal with people every single day, maybe in your work environment. That's huge. I'm blessed to work somewhere where I have no work drama, not a lick of it. We all hold each other accountable. We talk a little junk with each other, but we do it because we're holding each other accountable. Because we would do it to each other's face. But, just remember that person could be going through something really terrible. Does it give them a right to treat you like crap? No, it does not. But maybe that person just needs someone to talk to. I've read in the comments, for example, on my YouTube channel, I've had people irritated with me, come at me, have some nasty things to say. They just don't know how to say things. People, that's another thing. People do not, you can't, it's very tough to read through comments sometimes. You don't know how someone is meaning something, or if they just don't know how to talk to people. Whether it's to your face or through comments. And I know I keep bringing up comments on social media, but I like to speak on how, examples on how I can help you guys understand what I'm saying through my situations. But what I was getting at with is, I had a couple comments when a lot of my videos were going, getting out there with Aaron. And I decided, hey, I'm going to say something, but I'm going to be genuine. And I thought to myself, okay, well, that person's saying something nasty to me. I'm just going to kill them with kindness and hope that they're having a better day and go about it. And, I had a few people comment back and apologize. They're like, I'm sorry, man, I was having a bad day. I shouldn't have said that. You're right. And it'll blow your mind. Now, some people are just going to keep coming at you. Okay? They're just going to keep coming at you. You can call them a troll, whatever you want to. But just kill people with kindness. Just be loving and have patience with people. Patience is huge. It's very huge. And, I've struggled a lot with, personally with the comments internally. Not outwardly. I haven't really shown it, but it's been something that's been irritating me a lot lately. But you know what I have to realize? Listen, I signed up for this. And that's another thing, accountability. I mean, it doesn't really say that in scripture there, but accountability too. So you got to kind of look at yourself in the mirror too. What can you improve to improve the situation? And, I had to look at myself in the mirror. I had to say, okay, I have a platform that's pretty successful. It's doing pretty well. Okay, how can I post things better? How can I react to things better to just limit negative reaction? So, remember that too. How can you improve your situation? And just do your best to limit negative interaction. You're going to get it regardless. So, and guys, I don't want you to think I'm struggling or anything. It's just been something that I've had to work on over the last several weeks, with just having patience with people and just kind of ignoring that stuff and not saying anything at all, and which is tough for me to do. If you know me in real life, you'll know there's a side of me that likes to clap back at people. If you don't, well, now you know. But, and somebody might be listening to this and now might come at me even more, but I'm just being vulnerable to you guys, keeping it real. But just, I hope that helps, guys. I know I'm kind of rambling, but God bless all y'all. Appreciate y'all. Just live by those Christ-like qualities. And as always, I am speaking heavily to myself also. So God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day. We'll do it again tomorrow morning. Stay safe out there. We'll talk soon.